Welcome to Straight Out of Savannah, Talking with Tammi, a podcast that showcases people you may not know who are choosing to use their gifts to inspire and move the planet.
Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah, Talking with Tammi. With my guest, Lisa Thomas, she's going to explain to you who she is and what she's all about. Lisa, take it away.
Hey, hey, thank you so much for having me, Miss Tammi. And it's honestly an honor to be here with you today. My name is Lisamarie Thomas. I'm 26 years old. Originally, I was raised in Albany, Georgia, but I was born in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I have two beautiful children, Leanna and Elijah, that are the light of my life. They have been my motivation for just getting out of a bad situation, getting into a better situation, and just trying to make a better way for them. So I thank them and my family for just helping me move forward in God first and foremost. So recently I became an author, and this happened for me within the past 2.5 years or so. And it was after I overcame an incident where I was manipulated into human trafficking by this guy in Atlanta that I thought was going to be my boyfriend. I thought that I was going to be in love and all this other stuff. And it just turned out to be something that was meant for my destruction, if the devil had his way. But it turned out for me, I was able to move past that. My daughter was in the situation. God kind of gave me a blueprint, in my mind to get away from it. And I was not only able to do that, but after a few months, after moving to my hometown, I was just kind of sitting back and I was thinking, like, it's probably other people, that's going through that. So I would kind of be selfish if I didn't try to share that message, to another woman that maybe could get out of that situation. And my books are called, the first one is Turned Out. It's a memoir, like, of my life. It's kind of like a quick glance, so you kind of understand maybe how I kind of got into that situation, and Turned Out is not to say that my circumstances necessarily put me in that situation, but it's a combination of circumstances and bad decisions, that landed me there. So when I'm explaining, in the book, how I got there, I'm talking about my upbringing. I'm explaining that I was I didn't have, my family. I didn't have my parents. So I kind of was robbed. I feel like, of a normal childhood. And my dad was an entertainer. He was writing New World Order, co-writing New World Order with Curtis Mayfield. And he was traveling around the country at the time. And my mom was a victim of the crack epidemic. So she couldn't raise me, and he was just not there. So it landed me in a place where I could kind of either sink or swim as a child. Mm-hmm. And I had to navigate that. So that's what Turned Out is about, and although it seems like, oh, this is like, what is she going to do after that? There's no ending to it. It seems like there might not be enough depth to it. It was kind of like a diary for me. Yes. It wasn't supposed to be for anyone to necessarily understand, the journey past that. It was just to understand that if another woman needed this, that they could survive this regardless of their circumstances. And that's because I've, survived this. And I'm, hoping that God can make a way for somebody else. Then I got to a point where I was just really, really traumatized by everything. I couldn't really parent very well. I was like working these super long hours and stuff and just trying to figure out like where I'm going to go. And then I started writing another diary, right? And this time it was like, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It sounds like it was a healing journey for you and like it's continuing, really.
Right. So this journey was about my change in perception, because turned out at the end of it, I still felt like a victim,
Yes.
And then I got to a point where I knew I had to do something else. I couldn't stay victimized. I had to be happy because I have 2 kids, and my son, is think about all this going on in the world. He needs me, he don't just need his dad, he needs both of us to, guide him. And my daughter, like, I could never live with her being a product, of something like that. And then repeating that over and over again, like, because that's what's going to happen. That's what continues to happen in our communities, if we don't.
Cycle.
Absolutely. Right. So then I started to feel like, okay, like now you have to do something to break it, and it's not just, and it's mental, it's not just financial, but it's financial too. It's stability. It's making sure that my family and even others are protected, and we have enough information not to continue to be products of our environment. So the second book is called When God Let Me Speak. And it was written from a place of anger, because right after I moved back to Atlanta in 2018, I was like, okay, I got myself together. I'm not even worried like about what happened to me. Like, I'm about to go ahead and try to market my book, and figure out what I'm going to do next. And sometimes it's not that easy to just move on. And I had to
many times.
I had to come to terms with that, because I kept doing stupid stuff. I felt like I had these friends that were not being good friends to me, and I was just sitting here like I was treating them like they really deserved my friendship and my loyalty and my love, when I needed that myself, when my kids needed that. So I didn't want to feel like I was being selfish, but I was like, I'm done. I'm tired. Like, and I started to pray, I started to, write, focus on being a better mom and stuff like that. And then I got to a point where I needed some more money. So I made a bad decision, and I decided like, okay, well, I knew people down here when I was, in that life before. It might have been forced, but it's my decision now. And that was the biggest thing. Like, it wasn't my decision. So maybe if I, did a little something here and there, then I'd be all right. But God was like, no, ma'am. Like, no, ma'am.
Don't you love it when God does that?
Right. Well, it's crazy.
People always want help, but they don't really want help.
Right.
Or they want the kind of help they want.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I've been learning, that I had to accept, okay, God has given me a purpose. Would you mind getting me some tissue? I'm sorry. I don't want to be all.
It's all good. We in the living room. It's good.
So he was like, no, ma'am. And what happened was, there was this guy that was supposed to be this date that was supposed to give me this money, so that I could have money for my bills and stuff like that. I had this job interview and I was going to start. Well, I actually had gotten this job. I was going to start this job in like 2 weeks. And I was a little impatient, but I felt like, I'm not trying to lose this opportunity. I came all the way back up here and I'm not going back home. I'm not going back home to be no failure, especially in a town with 70,000 people. Like, I done dropped out of school and stuff. Like, no. And the guy came in and he put a gun to my head. He raped me. It's really detailed in the book. I don't want to really, go on and for, the listeners and stuff, but it was a sad point, absolutely. But for me, after it happened, I got the message, because it could have been taken one or two ways. It could have been like,
yes.
The devil is like, oh, kill yourself or something, or, oh, you're not worth it. And I went through all of that. And I felt like nobody's going to want me, like I'm not about to get no fiance, no man, like my daughter is probably going to feel, like, I don't know, just some type of way, like this could happen to her, or I'm not able to protect her, something. And it almost devalued my worth to the point that I did almost give up. But faith is really something remarkable.
Yes,
because that was when I had to pick myself up. And I'm like, no, like this has happened, to you, but tragedy has happened to you before. So if you didn't give up then, you can't give up now, especially when you haven't finished, especially when there's so much to do. And if you leave right now, you're going to leave your kids to go through the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
that
selfish. Right. And that's messed up, for me to do. And to some people, that might seem like, oh, that's too hard, but it wasn't hard when I realized that there was purpose in it. That was the thing that really got me through it. Like, I did not just write this for a reason. I didn't sit here and write 286 pages and design a cover and publish this myself and print this out for the world to see, to give up. That does not make any sense to me. And honestly, if I was to send a message to any female out there, they would feel like that was the thing to do next. And what kind of message would I be sending then? So my change of perception was what inspired the second book. And I think that, like, out of a meal, I guess, would be like the meat and potatoes, of it. That's how you kind of get into it, get into that story, because it's the aftermath of trauma. It's the stuff that people don't talk about. It's how you move on and survive after something bad has happened to you. Like, we talk about what's happened all the time, but like, why are people killing themselves? Why are people, having to go to therapists and stuff and not, and not getting along with their family members and killing each other in the pandemic and stuff like that? Because there's too much stuff that needs to be spoken about. And people need to know that somebody else is going through something like this. So the second book it wasn't just like, oh, okay, I've been going through this and God has changed me and I've had just like this change of faith. It actually starts out like, I don't even want to know my purpose. I'm scared. I don't want that responsibility. Why me? Or a suicide note, like, y'all, I don't want to do this no more. I'm over it.
So did you address any of that in that book?
Yes, absolutely. That's actually how it starts off. Okay. Is just by me explaining, and that's how I wrote it as a diary too. It was like, I don't really want to do this. I feel like you give me a purpose, but why? Why do I have to do this? Why am I going through this? Like,
at such a young age.
Right. Why have you put me through a life that didn't seem like it was favorable? Like, everybody else is going through and happy, got their moms and dads and Christmas and stuff. And I'm like sitting in the projects, wondering where my mom is, but when I thought about, spiritual, even spiritual warfare and how real that is, and how sometimes people are put here to go through things in order to be messengers to other people,
Well,
then
some of us are way showers,
right,
and you obviously are. Some of us are way showers because I went through something as well, and I asked God, why are you forsaking me? I asked God that. People
right,
people always said, well, don't ask God, no questions, and don't ask God. I said, well, he's God. Why not?
right,
And I asked, I said, why are you forsaking me? Why did I have to go through all of this at such a young age? I understand all of that,
right.
all of that, and
Think
it's not easy.
right. And I think and past, those chapters, I talk about some things that some of my readers have told me have been relatable to them, because
Yes.
it's chapters like where I almost got hit by a car when I was 9, and it's crazy because some of that stuff seems like insignificant, but then when you go back and think about it and think about these situations that you've been put in and what could have happened if you weren't there at that time, and what person was blessed, or what I'm saying, what uh outcome came from that because God had that happen, then it starts to make sense. So even there are a couple of stories about other people that thought about maybe killing themselves, or even experienced death, and I might have just been their friend, but I kind of saw it through their eyes, and it was scary, and even as a kid it was like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in that situation. So it caused caution. But then there were other things like growing up in the church that a lot of times were really judgmental, you know, and it made me feel like, why do I want to be here? What is this? Like I can't go anywhere. Nobody understands, what's going on. And I feel like I can't be good or bad. I feel like, nothing is worth doing because I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And then as an adult and as a mom and as a friend, as a fiance, I was able to understand, that everything happens for a reason, and even though you don't understand it, your job is, like you said, first of all, a lot of things are misunderstood. I feel like you can question the things that God is doing,
Yes.
because he's asking, he's putting you on this journey for a reason.
Yes.
And I feel like, if he's having these conversations with you, if he's guiding me and telling me, oh, say these words, spread these message, then I should be able to ask him a question as well. And sometimes when you do, as long as you really, you know, look inwardly, then you realize that sometimes you have the answers. And I think that even
that is right there. That is right there. The answers are always inside of us. We
absolutely
just don't always want to take the time to what? Look,
right,
listen,
listen to it.
here, shut the fuck up.
Exactly. Right.
Sometimes you
Or
just
we
need
want
to.
to go to church and we want to look to somebody else to tell us what to do.
Yes,
And I'm like,
we want
I
a
don't.
man or a woman or whoever, a prophet or prophetess or whoever to speak into our
Right.
lives, but we can speak into our own lives.
Exactly. And honestly, when I first wrote the chapter about religion, I thought that I was going to get a lot of backlash. I was telling my fiance, like, oh, this is going to be controversial. Like, people aren't going to like this. Like, oh, and, he always just told me to, say what I have to say, say my truth. And the truth is, I don't have any problem with the church. I don't have any problem with congregation. I have a problem with judgment. I have a problem with hypocrisy. I have a problem with the grants, and that's not talking about the real situations that are going on, because God, first of all, we know that we're his people, and I don't want to say to any other, listeners that everybody's not his people, but we know who the children of, the Hebrew children are. The children of Islam are, for real. So for them to purposely not spread certain messages is, I believe, against God's will. And that's a problem. So if we're going to have our children in church and we're going to have them talking about God and what's really going on, then we're going to tell them the truth. And that's the only way that I'm going to be okay with the church, and that's what that chapter was about. And I didn't, again, I was so surprised, but when
You didn't
people
get a
started
lot of backlash?
no, they
That
actually
is surprising.
understood. Right. My editor,
Because
she
normally, ooh,
right. I was thinking to myself, like, because I have so many like friends and family and stuff like that that are we all grew up in the church. So I mean, we moved to Albany with a church.
I call them
So
super Christian.
exactly. So I'm thinking like, oh, they're not gonna like it, like, oh man. But in my books, one thing I tried to do is be conversational. That's how I wrote them. And I feel like I wanted not only for people to know that I was speaking directly to them, but for them to kind of have certain warnings too. Because I know that, even though a wide range of people can understand what I'm saying, everything is not for everybody. And I don't want to be that person to try to push something on you that you don't want, so
No,
I'll start a
never.
chapter by saying, like, look, I'm going to talk about something that you might not want to talk about. If you don't respect my opinion, ma'am, sir, if you don't want to hear about religion, kindly move to the next chapter because it's going to get real, boo. But if you are interested,
Well,
and you go ahead.
I was going to say the thing is people don't realize that religion don't really have a whole lot to do with God.
Exactly.
God is so much bigger and so much huger. And even as many times as they say, oh, we're not going to put God in a box. They do.
Right.
They
Exactly.
put God in a box, and they characterize people according to, how they think that God is going to do.
Exactly.
But God said he's not a man that he should lie.
Right.
And God said that he judges by the heart. He don't judge by the outward appearance and looking at people and all this kind of stuff. And so that's a thing for me too, as well. Cause I, grew up in the church as well. Same thing. Got millions of super Christians. Some of my family down from where you from are pastors and preachers and all kinds of stuff. And like I said, I have no problem with God because I love God.
Right.
But I cannot do religion. I can't do it.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
it just it's no. I mean, I truly believe that it just really don't have nothing to do with God,
Right.
and if you really truly seek him and you really truly, take some time and go within, then you'll come out with the answers that you got, because you got answers. You didn't do counseling or anything, did you?
No.
See, you got answers straight from God
Right.
that were within you.
Right.
And we can all do that. That's
Like you said,
amazing,
you
especially
just
at
have to
such a
listen.
young age.
Thank you. And like you said, I really believe that it's something that, God can give to everybody, or has. It's just that, like you said, we have to look inwardly.
Yeah.
And the thing about even living in our country is that's the way that they divide us. Like you said, and that's really the thing that I'm covering in the chapter is the fact that it's not God. It's not spirituality. It is religion. It is the separation of God from religion. If we realize that they did that to us so that we can basically be Babylonia all over again,
Yes.
and we can all be talking different languages and not understand what each other is saying, that's like one of the devil's biggest tools.
Yeah.
He's going to use music. He's going to use miscommunication to confuse you. He's the master of confusion. So that's the thing that I wanted, a lot of young people and a lot of just people generally to understand, because
stop worshiping the devil.
Right. Right. Because they don't, and y'all don't even know. And it's because people are here to lead you. We got prophets and all that other stuff. That stuff is real. But at the end of the day, y'all don't got to go to church and pay tithes to somebody to run their buildings and drive their Mercedes and put coats on their wives and stuff like that in order to have a relationship with God. You can do all that. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, if that makes you feel spiritually whole, that's no problem. But if you feel like that is what you have to do in order to be closer to God, and you push that on other people, then we're really just disrupting what God put us here for.
Because
we're all here for a purpose.
Because we are severing the connection.
Right.
Because God wants to connect with each and every one of us in our hearts.
Right.
Not through a man or a woman or, or whatever.
Right.
because everybody's preaching these days, but
Right.
not through any person. He wants to connect with us, personally on a one-to-one basis. And so
Right.
when you do that, just like you said, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You pay your tithes, do whatever you got to do, but don't believe that that is the connection between you and God,
Right.
because that's bullshit.
Right. That's the confusion. Exactly. That's what he wants you to think, so that you stay asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. And then we walk around talking about this real woke and I'm woke and I'm woke, but everybody is asleep. Like nobody is really, really woke if they're not seeing that
That's
you're woke.
that's
You
one of the
know?
reasons why we had this pandemic, to be honest with you. I'm gonna
Right.
tell you. I mean, it's so much behind this that people have no idea.
Right.
So much behind it.
Right. It's so much bigger than what we're, looking
Way
at or
bigger.
what they put on the TV for
Yeah.
us to see. And there's not a lot of us that realize that's going on. And you got so many false prophets, and false teachers and stuff out here, people that are set here to lead us astray, that if God put you here to have a purpose and to spread his message, then you're put here to basically combat that, to be a warrior of spiritual warfare.
Yes.
And that's something that, you really have to do, because I'm a firm believer that if God gave you a gift and you do not use it, then he will take it and give it to somebody else that actually does deserve it.
Well, he said that. I mean, a whole bunch of times in the Bible he said it.
Right.
But
he's
people
not going to play with you.
I was gonna say, people don't listen to that. They or either this is what I found, because what I did was I left South Carolina and went to Arizona. I did it because God said it was time for me to leave that place that I was at. And when I told people that God said it was time for me to go, now I went purely, I rode on faith. Okay. I packed my car. My kids were grown. So I told them it's time for me to leave here.
Mm-hmm.
My kids, they flow and they're woo anyway. So they were like, okay, Mom, we leaving here too. And they all did.
That's
And
amazing.
so, but when I told people that God said it was time for me to go, because I went to this place with a car note, an astronomical car note, and no job. I went and moved in with my cousin because she said I could come and stay with her while I, get myself together and get on my feet or whatever. And so I had, basically, no house. I didn't have no job. I had a car note. And people said that God wouldn't tell you to go someplace where you didn't know anybody and you didn't have a job. This is what people told me that were in the church and friends of mine. It told me that God would not tell me to do that. Hang on, we're going to pause for a second. Okay, so yeah, so people told me that. They said God would not tell you to go. And I said, so because he told Abraham to go to a land he was going to show him, and he was going to make his name great and make his descendants number, greater than the sands. And he told Isaac to go, and he told, I don't know, a few other people in the Bible to go. So I guess God ain't doing that no more.
Right.
That was what I said.
So that just stops.
Yeah.
So
that
he just
from
decides when he wants to, send messages to people. There's no burning bush.
Right.
There was no Adam and Eve. Like come on, y'all. Yeah. Like, stop playing with me.
Right. Exactly.
My goodness.
Well, that's amazing, because the thing is even for you to bring that out, because it needs to come. It needs to come. It needs to come. And oh my God, because the judgment that they bring to you, it's like, I mean, didn't God say, judge not lest ye be judged? I mean, was that not?
It's like we just took our own version of the Bible and just was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this in America, or like worldwide. Like, that's crazy.
Well, we picked and choose.
Right. And we can't do that. And that's the thing that I think, like you said, makes it's really hard for people, because people do pass a lot of judgment on others. And when you talk about going into church where you're supposed to be, congregating and meeting, in order to have God unite you and stuff, like how can you, and how can you force people out of the church or make people feel like they don't belong there, because let me see here. I'm having an issue right now.
You're gonna give him the left foot of fellowship.
Look at this.
Is that a bunny?
Yes.
It's a real one?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
This is my daughter's bunny and she's just running around. That's why I'm looking all around. She's just hopping around.
Now that's a new one because I just didn't think our people had bunnies as pets. But hey,
yes, I had like 3 or 4 of them growing up because I was really isolated and stuff. With not having a mom and everything. And I was telling
bought you a bunny.
Yeah. My great aunt bought me a bunny because she had a cat, and she was like, I'm not gonna do another cat, but you can have a bunny. And I had this bunny for a long time. And
how long do they live?
It was a he actually. I named her Chelsea and found out after he died that it was a boy, right? But it was about 1.5 years until his teeth grew out of his nose and suffocated him. It's really strange. I know. Right. And it's crazy because at the time I was kind of using pets to have somebody to talk to and stuff like that. So it kind of helped me
get pet therapy, really.
Kind of, yeah. Because that's what I thought that it would work for my daughter. She was kind of at home by herself. My son was living with his dad, and she just kind of seemed like she was on her tablet all the time, and just kind of being socially, non-existent, not, being active. And I thought the same thing might work for her. So I was like, let's get a bunny. And yeah, she's been awesome. So I think that might actually work for a lot of people. And it's crazy because in one of my chapters, I talk about how I had this dog named Annabelle when I was 16. And I was really, really close to this dog because I was like going through a weird stage in life and stuff. I had kind of moved back with my mom, and she was, trying to be a mom, and I was really rebelling. Like, oh, no. You haven't been here. I'm not gonna, you're not gonna be a mom to me. Mm-hmm. And it was really messed up. I talk about how I feel now, making, bad choices, like that. But the dog kind of developed my nurturing spirit to the point that I was kind of ready to have a kid, and I didn't know that I was pregnant at the time, but I had took care of this dog for like 1.5 years after she was traumatized and beat up and stuff. And like probably like 1.5 years later or so, she just died. She got hit by a car.
Oh gosh.
Right. And it's a really short story, but the next day I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So, I kind of started to put certain things together, about maybe why God gave me that dog, and there are things like that happen to people all the time, where they feel like, oh, this was put into my life for this reason. And people might tell them like, you're crazy. That's crazy. Yes. You ain't got that dog because they taught you how to be no mom. That's, but
it's real though.
Right. It could.
And the thing is if they stop judging, how they think God is, and just allow you to know and connect, then things will be so much different, because the thing is people judge and they put that judgment on you. And we don't realize it at the time that they put this judgment on us until we start waking up and opening our eyes and seeing things, for what they are, and not the craziness that, we were taught, or that, it's like, okay, it's almost like when we stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you realize it was just water anyway.
Right.
It wasn't even Kool-Aid.
Just nothing. It's all here.
Yes.
Like it's all they want to make. Really, they want to change, the way that we think. They want to suppress, everything that God has really given us to, analyze this world and to figure out where we belong in our purpose. And that even goes with like certain things, not just religion, but even I talk about like magic and stuff. Like
even this virus.
The virus, I know a lot of people that have practiced different things that have been good, and bad. I talk about how people were put here for certain reasons. Certain people might have spirits within them. Certain people might have been here to cause your downfall. You really have to be, aware of those things. And like you said, that will make you aware of even stuff like the virus, because that it's bigger than you. That it's not just something that's going to make me sick, and they might have made it in a lab. No, like this is something that not only has been planned for years and years and years, but is on another playing field, that you're going to have to come up to if you want to play against them, and if you don't, then you die, and you're led astray. And that still leads you to where you're sitting in church talking about you don't want to go. So, sometimes it's kind of hard to portray those, or express those type of messages because,
well, it's not popular.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's going to come with some type of judgment.
Right.
Like with me, so I do oracle cards, right? Same. Well, when I first came up with that and started really doing that and tapping into that, my super Christian people, was like, oh my God,
Right.
But in the church, you call me a prophetess.
Right.
So what's the difference?
Oh my God, and I won't say the same exact thing happened, but I even talk about when I was a kid, I was like 9, I think. And I went to church one day. There was this guest speaker, and she brought me up out of everybody as a little girl and said that I had a powerful spirit of discernment, and as I grew up, I realized that was just, ability to understand, maybe a little bit deeper than others. And I kind of, like you said, started to tap into certain things too. I had a bad experience, with some magic stuff that some other guy was doing that I probably shouldn't have had any business, because God didn't lead me there in the first place.
Right.
And when
I think we all have.
Right. That's right. And people don't want to talk about it, and it's the things that we're not talking about that's really affecting us.
Well, that's killing us is what it's doing.
Right. Absolutely. And not only that, but it's, destroying our communities even further. Our kids, we aren't able to gain any traction at all, and that's one of the reasons why we're having even so much, violence in the Black Lives Matter thing and all this other stuff, is because it's a complete lack of understanding.
Yes.
To me, and it's not that we're doing anything wrong by protesting, and fighting back, whatever, again, people feel like they need to do in order to spread the message is okay, but you have to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is the fact that this is oppression. Is not only oppression, but it's oppression that was even described in the Bible as something that God put on his children in order to get them to understand, to change. And if we're not going to change, it's going to keep happening,
It kind of reminds me of, and I talk about this all the time, it reminds me of the children of Israel.
Right.
Now, God was leading them out of all that bondage and whatever, right?
Right.
But in the midst of it, he sent the plagues. Now, they were still there for the plagues, right?
Right.
They were still there. But God showed them how to protect themselves and all that stuff, and put the blood of the lamb and all these other things that they did or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. It's like, God will show you how to protect yourself.
Right.
But you got to listen.
Right.
You got to hear, and you got to stop stop looking at things on such a surface level, because we're looking at it right here, but really it's here. It's
Right.
inside. It's deeper. It's in the ground.
Right.
And stop listening to all the BS that people put into your ears. I mean, sometimes you just have to shut everything off.
Right.
Just turn off Facebook and Instagram and whatever, YouTube, and leave all the conspiracy theories on the side.
Right. The YouTube.
So
fake news capital.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like killing my daughter's brain.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God.
Like, no. And I like YouTube because
right.
it's gonna be on YouTube, but
so entertaining.
My God, yes.
But yeah, it becomes a problem when you're attacking little children, to the point that they can't discern what is real or fake. Where you're leaving an impression on their minds, and that is and that's really where I think spiritual warfare is headed now. And that's really why I felt pressed to talk to people at this point, because again, it's not about me. It's not just because I woke up and had a message. It's because something, right, things happened to the point that I felt like God was saying, okay, look, you're either going to step into this or you're not. I'm going to keep doing things to you, or you're gonna, do what I told you to do. You're not gonna keep running from this. This is not okay. So
because you can run, but you can't hide.
Exactly. And that's what happened. Every time I tried to run and tried to, I'm gonna go back to Albany, I'm gonna hide up under a rock, like nobody's gonna see me. God was like, excuse me, ma'am.
No.
Can you please can you please stop playing with me? And I like the fact that even speaking to you, that you're so, down to earth and real about just the way God is and the way spirituality is, because I think that that's also the message that I was trying to portray. Yes. There's a lot of things that can come from tragedy that we don't realize. There's sometimes God is trying to send us a message that we need to be more spiritually aware in order to receive. We got to cut a lot of people off sometimes that are not right in line with what God is trying to do in our lives.
Yes.
And
that's hard sometimes.
It is very difficult.
God. Sometimes
like,
I have felt like at times where I was just alone. Because because either people ran away, because they told me it wasn't God, God wouldn't send you 2,000 miles away with no job. In a car, no, who that's not God.
And who are you to say?
Right.
Or sir?
Exactly. So that, some of those had to go, and then some more just had to fall off because they couldn't see, where God was taking me. And they didn't realize,
exactly.
Because the thing is God didn't give them the vision. He gave it to you.
Exactly.
So they're not going to be able to see it until you bring it forth. And
right.
even then, they still may not be able to see it because it might not be for them to see.
Exactly. And that's another thing, that I did cover is that, purpose is not just about, you're in somebody else's life for a reason, or what somebody can do for you. Purpose could be that you're in this person's life to allow God to show them something, so like you said, it's not always for you to see, right. And if even when you're choosing your friends, they need to realize that as well, because everybody's journey is their own, and God didn't put somebody else in your life to navigate it for you. He put them in your life to be a supporting role in your story, and then for you to be a supporting role in their story, if that's the case, and for that time being or for that season, because there's this artist that I like that says this thing that really is close to my heart. And he just says that every provision is not, always lasting. Sometimes provisions are made temporarily. Sometimes friends are in your life temporarily. Sometimes people are just messengers, where they might just come to share something that God wants to tell you and then go. And as humans,
but we want to hold on to them.
Right. And that's the hard part.
Yes.
And that's where the devil comes in, because he knows that. He knows what's on our heart too. So he's going to come in and try to, play on that and puppeteer you and play with your emotions and stuff. And that's not always easy to, figure out.
No, sometimes it's just really difficult.
Right.
And sometimes it just hurts.
Right.
And we have to acknowledge that too.
Right.
And just realize that, yes, it's okay for us to hurt.
Right.
It's okay.
That's the thing.
It's not going to last forever.
Right.
And we still can move on and, go to the places, but just don't allow that to stop us. Because that's what happens in a lot of people's lives, especially young people. They allow that kind of stuff to stop them and stop their journey and stop their vision. And they could have like an amazing vision. They could be somebody that has a vision like Jeff Bezos or something. And, they could have an Amazon or something, of that caliber later, but they allow that kind of stuff to stop them. And so I believe that is one of the reasons why you are here. To open your mouth and speak this truth, because this is something that your generation needs to hear.
Thank you. I truly believe.
All of us need to hear it, but your generation, especially, because y'all are the future.
Yes, and I do believe that, and people even in the time frame that I was born, a lot of us went through just being products of the crack epidemic. A lot of us, I went through periods. I know people that went through periods that blame their parents for it, that didn't understand it, that still aren't, don't have that relationship with them, as well. And it's messed up, because you kind of got to realize that it wasn't their fault.
I was going to say, and they don't even realize that they chose their parents.
Right.
We choose our parents. We chose them.
We do.
So if they're not what you wanted them to be, you know what I mean? You don't have control over what they become, but if they're not what you wanted them to be, own up to the fact that you chose them.
Right.
You chose them.
Yep. And at the end of the day, you not only
have to take responsibility for yourself.
Right. Right. And you have to know who people are, know what's going on. And like you said, that's one thing about realizing, like you said, that this is something bigger, because when you do, I was able to come to terms with, some people had a hand in putting this in our communities, so some people had a hand, not only my mom, but people that I don't even see behind the scenes that's still trying to destroy us today, that that had a big part in destroying my life and destroying a lot of other people. So that's something that we need to look at, people that went through that. Don't just keep blaming your parents. Look at what's going on.
The bigger picture.
Right. Unite with them so that we can overcome who's really behind this.
Yes.
Because if we're fighting with each other, we're not doing nothing but what they want us to do. And that's what's going to keep us in same situations. That's what's going to keep us marching. That's what's going to keep us fighting. That's what's going to keep us in jail and our communities inflated with drugs. And people feeling like they need to do them in order to cope. And that's another thing that I think really is not talked about enough.
It's not.
Is the fact that
swept under the rug.
People are covering it up with, drugs, alcohol.
Well, it's like it's any way that people can numb.
Right.
People want to numb.
Right. And honestly, you're right. That exists in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I mean, sexual addiction, gambling, a lot of stuff. You're right.
Yeah.
And it's too unspoken. It's too not talked about and not brought up. Mm-hmm. To the fact that we are almost thinking that this is normal. Yes. We completely normalize it. And that is the thing that is going to keep us asleep.
Well, if you think about it, even down to, it's, a little off subject, but same kind of topic, school shootings. School shootings are normalized now. Now, when they happen, you're like, oh, another one? Where was this one this time?
Exactly.
That should not be normal.
Right.
Nobody should be shooting up the school where our damn kids are at. It's just normal. The same thing that's happening with them killing brothers, sisters.
Exactly, right.
And now it's like, oh God, it happened again in Texas. It happened over here. It happened with George Floyd. It happened with Breonna, and it happened with many people we don't know their names.
Yeah, I mean,
So it should never be a normal thing. We should always be outraged about that.
Right. Absolutely.
And even, I think about that because I have two sons, and they're both right. Let's see, one is 30 and the other one will be 30 in September. So I think about that, and it's like, I think I need them to be safe, and I have no desire to bury them.
Right.
But I know who they are.
Right.
And right now they both live in Texas. So I'm like, oh, Jesus. So it's one of those things that, that should never be normalized.
Right.
We should never get used to that.
Right.
It should never be something that, oh, another brother done got killed.
Right. Oh, it's just another gang shooting or another armed robbery, or another house invasion or something like that.
No,
they're
that
just
should
black.
not be normal.
Like, what?
Or that they're black because they plaster them all over the TV.
Right.
Because if they're not black, they don't plaster them all over the TV.
Right.
And you don't even know their name for days.
Right. It's like a little section in the newspaper, if you still get a newspaper.
Right. And who does that?
Like, come on, y'all. And this is it's the thing is that we don't want to make people think that even this conversation is, to judge. It's not. It's not. It's completely
it's to wake.
Right.
It's to
talk about a real issue. There's nothing,
and it's not even just about, people of color, I'm gonna say.
Right.
It's not even that.
Right.
Because everybody needs to wake the fuck up.
Exactly.
And stop this.
Right.
They need to use their privilege to stop it because they got it.
That's the
point.
Need
to use it.
Right. And however God has put you here, whatever purpose that you have, whatever color you are, like you said, whatever privilege you have, you need to use it in order to try to not only make yourself, better, but if you do those things to be a better person, to understand what you're going through, to have empathy with other people, and to realize that this is bigger than you, then we gonna be all right. Then stuff is going to start coming together on its own, and we don't have to do all the things that we feel like we need to, because there are so many different outlets and people behind computers, and big federal buildings telling you that this is what you should do. It's not. God is telling you what you should do. All you got to do is listen. It's that simple. And it's not, we're making people feel bad because they don't know. We're just telling you because you need to know. And then when you do know, you can make a better decision, because the only way that even I was able to make a better decision was because I became informed.
Well, you know what my girl Oprah says? Actually, it wasn't even her, it was Maya. When you know better, do better.
You do better, right?
Exactly. Better. Simple as that.
So I think that that's really been, I think, the biggest part of even my journey is trying to having to let go of trying to understand why this is happening, why, or feeling victimized, or feeling like I can't discuss certain things because people are going to judge me because I grew up in church, or feeling like, I can't do certain things, or I'm not capable of certain things because they told me I can only use 10% of my brain, when I know that I'm a child of God and I can do whatever God put me here to do. It's a lot of things that are discussed between both of the books. Like I said, I think that When God Let Me Speak is probably the one that people are going to read the most. But I wrote both of them so that you can completely understand. And you just don't, right. So you don't have and thank you. So you just don't have a one-sided perspective. And the second book focuses on perception in its entirety. So it's not just about how mine changed, it's about how others can change theirs too. not just the way that I changed mine, by your own journey, by, having a real deep conversation with you, figuring out, the things that you need to do in order to overcome those obstacles and get to where you want to go.
So it's like a guidebook really as well.
Yeah.
In a
I
sense.
like to think so. Because there was actually this one review recently that opened my eyes a little bit to my own book. Like, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking when I ended it, like, what are people going to say? She's nobody. I had a literary agent that after my first book told me, well, this is a good book, Miss Thomas, but you don't have an audience. Nobody knows you. Who are you? You aren't doing anything. And I'm not gonna lie, my little feelings was hurt. Like, I was thinking like, oh my God. I didn't have an Instagram page or anything at that time. So I was like, well, is she trying to say that there's nowhere for me to go? And then I thought to myself, again, looking inwardly, I felt like God was telling me, no, that means that you need to do this yourself. That means figure this out. Like, get on Google, you know what I'm saying? Look at publishing, look at distribution. And then that way, you can be put on the route that you're supposed to. And I didn't even realize that, first of all, my first book was on Amazon. Amazon was getting 30% of my publishing, and I was not on any other sites at all. I was not being sold in any other stores.
Because Amazon doesn't do that. You have to, in order to get distribution, you got to do Ingram Sparks if you self-publish.
Exactly. I didn't even know about Ingram Sparks at all. So
people don't know. I only know because I was a part of an anthology, and the girl that did the anthology, she did a lot of education, which was amazing.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
It's because it's like you wouldn't know what to do. I was trying to figure it out, and I just got a whole bunch of stuff that was like, do you have an ISBN number? And I was like, what? Like, no.
Yes, Amazon owns your ISP.
Like, right. And I'm like, hold on. So y'all trying to tell me that Amazon is gonna own my wait? And I just had to keep thinking, keep hearing what was going on in here. And it was like, no, do this. And I looked on Google and I saw Ingram Spark. And I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to go. Oh, I'm going to, do this. I'm going to talk to different bookstores, independently. I'm going to speak to them myself. I'm going to figure out how I can get myself out there. And then at the end of this, then I won't be paying somebody else to own my work, because that's the cycle I'm trying to get out of. Why would I go back and do that? That's crazy, but it took some trial and error for me to figure that out. Mm-hmm. And it kind of is, to me, it's a waste of time if everybody has to go through that same process. Somebody should be like, y'all, if y'all want to be a writer, my African-American writers, my young writers, whatever gender or whatever, race you are, then you need to go to Ingram Spark to publish, because if you don't do that, you do not own your publishing rights. And if we spread that kind of stuff, we have more businesses, we have more writers, we have more owners of music, their distribution.
I created a course.
Right, that's what we need.
I created a course for self-publishing. Yes, and I actually put that in there, the difference between Amazon and Ingram Sparks, and what people have said about it and the different things. Now, I did not publish Ingram Sparks. I published Amazon, but I did learn about Ingram Sparks, and I started, kind of familiarizing myself. But, one of the things that people were saying was that it wasn't as easy as Amazon. Amazon, simple, upload, all that. And so that was one of the things that people were saying. So I kind of, brought in the which ones. And then there was one article I found. He said that it was best to publish with both.
Right. That's what I did.
Yeah. So you have the distribution on Amazon, which, people love Amazon. They love to go and grab your book, and then it can go in Barnes and Noble and all these other places through Ingram Sparks.
Exactly. That's the thing that I had to learn even as a self-publisher, but doing all of that myself, actually, with the help of my fiance and, just sitting up long nights, tired and stuff like that, it taught me everything that I needed to know about my business. So that way,
So let's talk about your business. because we've been on here a long time, but we're gonna talk. Go and do the thing.
Well, it's not really, honestly, it's just publishing for the most part, but I'm looking into we're trying to open up a production company because my next step is trying to like talk to other people and get their stories out that don't necessarily know how to be writers or know how to put their stories out themselves. And through that, I am looking to do documentaries, movie, films, and
Well, you're in the right place.
Yeah, thank you.
Got Brother Tyler over right there.
Huh?
So you got Brother Tyler right there.
Where?
Tyler Perry.
Oh, he's in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yes, he's right down the street. There's a big studio. Matter of fact, there's two, if I'm not mistaken. I think his old one and a new one. I think that he put in like a mall or something. It's huge. Right. You should see it. Like, it's huge. I probably should like drive by there one day.
Yes, you should.
Like throw some flyers out the window.
Throw a book or two.
Right. It's like do that for like.
Hey, I sent my book to Oprah's assistant. So
really?
Yeah, I did. I sent one there, and I emailed one to Spike Lee's people, and yeah, I was just
that's what I need to do
out there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really that's what I've been trying to do. And that's really what the business is. Just trying to figure out ways to publish my own stuff, get it out there to the point that I can, say that I am not only financially, stable, but to the point where I can open up other businesses, and open up other ways for different business owners, because that's important.
And help other people to get their stories out too. The girl that helped me publish my second book, that's what she does.
Wow.
She does ghostwriting as well, and she helps people to get their books out and stuff.
Yeah. And that opens up a market that, is really, I think really needs to be unlocked, because if we do that, then not only do we have more relatable representation of Black people or, just people in general, but we also give people an opportunity that they might not have known that they had.
Yes.
And that's important.
Yes. So one of the things that I would suggest you do is start doing master classes.
Okay.
Start doing master classes.
I think I just saw something on Instagram about that with Issa Rae. Did you see that?
Yeah. Issa Rae is doing something where she's showing people how to write scripts, I thought, or screenplays or something. I don't know, something.
I don't know. I didn't look a lot into it, but I will now that you said something.
But check it out. Start doing, masterclass. You can start them on Instagram.
Okay.
Just do Instagram live and say, I'm gonna do a masterclass, or Facebook, or whatever. Or like what I do is I use StreamYard, and StreamYard streams to Facebook. Well, 3 places you can stream all at once. So I stream to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna look into that like tonight.
It's amazing. I love it because I'll do like I do a spirit-led series is what I'm calling it, because that's really what it is. But it's called Awakening the Healer Within. And I do it on Mondays and Wednesdays. And I say Monday and Wednesdays around 12 noonish. Sometimes it's 11:30, sometimes it's 1 o'clock, sometimes it's 2, but whatever time it is, I say 12 noonish, and I do it on Mondays and Wednesdays because that's what Spirit told me to do. Right. And at the end of it, I do a meditation and all this stuff, a healing. And I stream it to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and then I have my phone and I have it on Instagram.
Oh, good.
So at the same time, I'm all of those places.
Right.
And I'm doing it, and I've done like some little master classes too, and I'm still kind of getting into them because I really like those. So I just get on there and I post a post and say, hey, I'm going to do this master class this time, whatever, join me, blah, 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 blah. And I just get on there and I start talking about whatever and create the things in Canva. Your presentation.
I use that too.
Canva's wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
So you create your presentation in Canva and share your screen and talk to the people and, tell them what you're doing and all that stuff. And, that you're, a publishing company or, I called myself an intuitive book consultant.
It's a really cool name.
Yeah, I thought so. So, but yeah, so those are some things you can do is, just start talking about it. Cause what I noticed is, when I got my book, let me see if I can find it. Where's that book at? This one. When I put this one out,
Oh, that cover is beautiful,
isn't it? So when I put that one out, I talked about that book every day on Facebook Live for 45 days.
Wow.
Every single day.
Right, it's what you're supposed to do.
And people,
you gotta nurture it like a baby.
That's what I'm saying. I got so tired of talking about that book.
Right. You get tired of hearing
my own voice. But it got it out there. And that book is all over the world. That book is in Africa, in Australia, in France, in Spain, and UK and Canada, and all over this country. And then I did like what do you call those things? Autograph copies, so they could get an autograph copy from me, or they could buy it on Amazon.
I want one.
You want one? Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
I want one.
So yeah, so that's what I did. I put that thing out there just like that. And awesome. I want one of yours as well, both of them.
Absolutely.
So we'll trade that information when we get off. But anyway, so I'm super excited that you joined me. This has been a conversation of the ages. This has been amazing. This is one of the things and one of the reasons why I did this show, and I'm super grateful that you decided to join me on Straight Out of Savannah Talking with Tammi. So let the people know how to find you, how they can connect with you.
Well, you can reach me on Instagram. Follow me at Lisamarie, Lisamarie _ the author. Actually, let me say that one more time. Lisamarie _ the _ author. So make sure y'all get it right, because I really want the new followers. And honestly though, I do have another book coming out within the next year and a half that I want you guys to stay updated for. And I think that it's going to be something that's going to be really touching to a lot of women. It's actually called How to Be a Woman. It's a fictional collection of stories that I'm writing with my mom and my one of my sisters. So yeah, definitely check me out on IG for the latest updates. Lisamarie _ the _ author. And my website is www.lisamarietheauthor.com.
Followed you.
Hey, I'll follow you back.
I just found you. Awesome. I'm super excited. This has been so good. And we're going to also have her details, her contact details, as well as her bio and everything in the description of the video, as well as the audio. So you can listen to this on Anchor FM. It's on Google. It's on Apple. It's on Breaker Radio. It's on Listen Now, and a few other places that I can't remember. And you can watch it on YouTube. So make sure that you check out my channel, watch it on YouTube. Make sure that you like and you share and you subscribe while you're there, so that you can get all this juicy content, because this is so good. This has been.
It is, right?
Yes.
We had all the tea.
Amazing. Yes.
This is the real tea.
See? See, and she was so nervous when we got here, but
I was gonna cry.
She slayed it.
Thank you. It's because of you though. It was the chemistry, like we was here. So
it was. It really was. And it's so amazing, when people come on and they share their story, and it's just powerful, because the thing is all of that needed to come out just like it did.
Thank you.
So I'm grateful.
Glad God gave me the words to say. So thank you God for that, and thank you for allowing me to come on and speak to your audience. So
yes,
y'all for having me.
I'm super excited, and you could not have picked a better time. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah Talking with Tammi. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
I know you've been blown away with the amazing value here today. Now go out and inspire the planet. And be sure to send us a message when you're ready to come talk about it on Straight Outta Savannah, Talking with Tammi.